Chefs, what is the beef? Cam here, welcome to another live video, and in today's topic, let's close the old door here so there's no traffic going by. Today's topic, does the kitchen make chefs defensive? This is probably a tetchy old topic for a lot of us, but an important one, honestly. So answering this question, does the kitchen make chefs defensive? One of the best sayings that I ever heard was from Alan Sperrin, one of the guys who joined Chef Fit and one of my lieutenants. And Alan basically said that before he spoke to me the first time, the conversation that he had with me was the first time that he was fully able to open up, with no judgment and just talk about whatever problems he had. And you might have seen the results that he's gotten on one of our posts that I did recently. Now, the thing about that, and Alan said this thing that was really key, that after the conversation, he felt like he had unburdened himself. He felt like he had gotten something off his chest that he'd been withholding for a long amount of time. And he said it's as if since he started in the kitchen that he's been walking around with an external suit of armor around him. And he was scared that any other chef that he's working with would see a chink in his armor. You know what I mean? And instantly he would, instead of talking about how he felt, or instead of, being in a place where he was ready to be vulnerable or talk about shit, he would shell up, potentially be defensive about things and just keep to himself. That's a trait that I think most people in this industry have, chefs especially, because you can come up in an environment where your fucking head chef will throttle you for, the small, and everyone's worked with someone like that before, you know what I mean? Where they're potentially on a bit of a power trip, their ego's out of control, and it doesn't matter if a mistake happens and you made the mistake. It wouldn't matter if you owned up to the mistake or you tried to pass off the mistake as not your mistake, So within a kitchen, what you're conditioned to do is you're conditioned to say, oh, it wasn't me, it was this, you know what I mean? Even if some shit happens. And that stems from the head of the kitchen not leading correctly, coming down hard on people and not, forgiving mistakes and seeking to make people learn from those mistakes. Instead, they come down hard on them and potentially try to throttle them for it, verbally or physically. So if you think about that environment and what that conditions you to, in your mind, be like for years and years and years, it's no surprise that you can automatically be defensive about things. It's no surprise that you can automatically be defensive about things, because if you weren't, you generally got scolded in the kitchen. And I get that 100%. And I don't blame you for feeling like that. And I don't blame a lot of chefs for having that mindset. The problem is, the problem with that is the kitchen will condition you to think like that. And that thinking will stop you from succeeding outside a kitchen. Okay, one of the biggest traits that I can tell anyone, whether it's a change in your lifestyle and fucking putting your personal life on a better track, whether it's pushing forward in your career and being able to, adopt a new skill set and step up into a role that either gives you creative freedom where you're running the show and you're fucking, you're running the kitchen of the service, whether it's freedom of time and you've changed roles and you've gone into teaching or lecturing, whether it's financial freedom and you've managed to franchise what you're doing. Regardless of what your goal is as a chef and what you're trying to push towards, you got to understand that the trait that differentiates, chefs who are successful from not successful, and this is people in general, is how open-minded you are. You need to be radically open-minded. You need to be able to accept new ideas. We all know people who don't accept ideas and they're extremely defensive and resistant to change, and that's the whole thing. When you're defensive and closed-minded, you're resistant to change. So you won't take ideas on that you should take on that might make you better. You know what I mean? You'll fight them and say, no, you're wrong. This is what I would do. And that mindset will fuck you up in the long run. It will really fuck you up in the long run. For me personally, there's one thing I've always tried to fucking, I've taken abuse off bosses in the past. I've taken reams and reams of shit. People saying things that not even in a constructive way, not in a way to try and help you, just in a I'm giving you a fucking bollocking because I can get away with giving you a bollocking kind of way. And through those times, as testing as that was, and as much as I had to fucking bite my lip, I always tried to ask myself, what can I learn from that situation? What are they trying to tell me deep down? Even though they're being a fucking dick about it, what are they trying to tell me? And I can always take that lesson. And I've taken some great lessons from those situations and tried to exercise that control and not let my ego get fucking out of control and not freak out and react to someone. Now, that trait, if you don't have that, it will stop you, because you're going to end up, whether it's in your personal life, you're going to end up in arguments that you don't need to be in within your relationship, because you won't be able to accept any kind of criticism, or you won't be able to have an open, honest conversation. In work, you know, if you're moving forward in your career, you won't be able to accept ideas, you won't be able to work with front of house staff, you won't be able to do a lot of these things because you're closed in your head. Okay? Now, it's not your fault that you end up there, because the kitchen will condition you to almost favor doing that. Self-preservation. You don't want to be fucking scolded by whoever's leading the kitchen. So automatically you're going to do that. I get it. As you develop as a person, you got to seek to break that thinking. You got to seek to break that mindset, because that's what's ultimately going to lead you into some fucking promised land. So I'll give you an example from what I do with Chef Fit, and when I speak to chefs. The chefs who are the most successful are the ones who are the most receptive. Yeah? They're the most receptive to another opinion. To go, you know, let's say I've had a chef who's come in and they've been on a call with me or Ella, and we've had a consult, and this chef's laid down all their shit on the table. You know, and I've heard them out, and there's no judgment whatsoever. They've laid the shit all on the table. Whether it's problems in the relationship, whether it's, you know, mental health problems or physical health problems and confidence issues, or whatever the issue is, and they lay it on the table and they go, right, this is my situation, this is what I think is happening, you know, and maybe it's they're blaming their partner who doesn't understand what it's like being a chef, you know, maybe they're blaming the job because they're falling into all these negative lifestyle patterns, and they're picking and they're drinking and they're eating shit late at night. You know, the chefs who succeed are the ones who are willing to take the advice of me, and I will literally go, you could change that if you wanted to. You know, all those things that you're saying that are a problem, that's not your fault. Really, if you took the responsibility of it, you could fix all of them and you could stop it from happening. And the chefs that can go, fuck, you're right, and they go and do it, those are the ones that are successful. The ones that go, oh no, well, it's, you know, it's fucking, it's her and she doesn't understand, and it's the job and it's the industry, they don't understand. And it's like, even though you might be correct, you have to understand that it's not about who's right and who's wrong. It's about what you need to do to move forward. It's about what you need to do to drive yourself forward. And ultimately, whatever your goal is in life, as I said, is it that creative freedom? Is it fucking financial? Is it freedom of time? You need to be able to be receptive and open-minded to get that. And when you're defensive, which the kitchen can condition you to do, it can stop you and put an obstacle in your way. So you must get out of your own way. That's the important thing that I want you to get out of this, you know, and I want you to take away from it. And even if you watch any of my videos, you watch any of the posts that I put out, you know, nothing is ever said in a personal way. Some things might be brutally honest, and they might be coming at you and you mightn't have ever heard someone say it before. But it's like, can you actually be open-minded enough to take that information and apply it and improve? Or do you sit there and you just go, oh, well, fuck you? You know, because if you have the fuck you attitude, well, cool, you're going to be saying fuck you to the grave, you know, and you won't have done anything with your life. And that's the truth. You know, you need to have that open-mindedness. You need to break out of that fucking old mentality, because that old school mentality, everyone knows a fucking chef who's stuck in that, you know. How many people have you worked with who've been stuck in that fucking place for God knows how long, doing the same shit week in, week out, and they're still fucking miserable? That's not where you want to be. You know, I know that's not where you want to be. So I really, really hope that this gives you some piece of information that you can take away and apply going forward in any situation. So chefs, if you enjoyed it, give us a thumbs up. I appreciate everyone jumping on live. Much love to all of you. Have a good day and stay safe out there.